up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday Thing. This thing that we do every Thursday, and we've been pretty damn good about it. We all get together, we kind of pick a topic, and we chat it up. This week, we're talking about something that gets ignored a lot. In today's world where everything tends to be very visual, where, Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that, people are really obsessed with the way the outside of their car looks. And you'll get some flashy stuff on the inside, but for the most part, people are really, really hung up on the outside of the car. But today we're talking about interior. What our favorite interior is. Maybe I have a couple of my brain's gone, dude. It must be hot in here. I want to do some on daily driving interior, and then another section for more track oriented interior. But it's just a lot of conversations. It's going to be a good time. This week, I'm joined by who usually makes the thumbnails and has helped us out with all sorts of stuff in the background. But I'm joined by Randy. What up, Randy? How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Actually, you came up with the idea for this podcast, and then you kind of turned into the co-host of the podcast because everybody else was doing stuff. Warranty, the usual co-host, is at the Chicago Auto Show right now. Had a pretty cool interview with some of the Subaru peeps there, and got to check out some of their new unveilings. And I gotta be real, it was in my opinion a bit underwhelming, but what the hell do I know? I guess Subaru thinks we should be driving Ford Explorers now, and yeah. So either
I'm
way,
curious what he finds out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you it wasn't much. We had big plans of a whole episode based on that, and I'm not sure how much we're going to do with that or not.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, he's doing that. And then we got producer Jordan in the background, as usual, helping us out a lot. So it's, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. But like I said, this week we're talking about interior. And like I said, it's highly overlooked. But there's been some drastic interior changes over the years. And some of this, in fact, a lot of this is very subjective as to what you like about an interior, what you don't, what you find comfortable, what you don't. But a good example of a good example of something, I have two really good examples of this, and one's going to hit Randy real close to home. The first one, though, is sometimes cars, the concept of it looks great. Okay. You're like, man, the exterior's right. It's got the right kind of stuff I want. On paper, this car looks great. And then you sit inside of it and you're like, this thing is a piece of shit. Just due to basic interior stuff, touch surfaces, what certain things look like, how certain things feel, how you sit in the vehicle. I think my biggest example of that was I was really excited for the Focus RS. I was really excited for the Focus RS. And I knew it was going to be a $40,000 car. There's just no getting around it. I sat in the Focus RS for the first time, and I'm like, this is a Ford Focus. Like, it didn't feel special. It had some kind of cool seats, but when you're sitting in a seat, other than, maybe you're not moving around a whole lot, seats are just one part of it. Every other touch surface, everything, it felt like a $15,000 shit box. And I had a very, very hard time being okay with $40,000 for that. You know what I mean?
It sounds like it's similar to the Corolla GR kind of issue.
It kind of is, but I got to be real. The Corolla's nicer by a pretty significant amount. The next one, and this one's going to hit you close to home, Randy. I love you, bud. But I remember when I was first shopping for a Subaru, right? And this was 2002, and the 2000 model years had just hit. Okay. And I was looking around either at a used WRX, and I decided, because it had just released, I wanted to go look at an SRT4. And I love the concept of an SRT4. I could buy a new car for what I'd buy this other one used. And it made more horsepower, and from what everybody is saying, this thing is just ballistic fast, and nobody's going to take a Neon seriously, so I was going to have a ton of fun with it. And I went and drove it. First off, it's a very good thing that I drove that in the rain, or I don't think this show would exist. Because it was very traction limited in the rain, and that was really disappointing to me. And but the interior, I mean, I gotta be real, early 2000s, late 90s, Dodge interior for their cheaper cars or any of their cars was nothing to write home about. And that was a massive, massive factor in just the touch surfaces alone, comparing a Bug-Eye, an O2 WRX to a 2003 SRT4.
It's weird that you mentioned that because I had test drove a O2 WRX brand new, and I went the opposite direction. You went the opposite direction.
That's crazy. Because you were an SRT4 guy for a long time, right?
A little bit, unfortunately, but I learned from my mistakes.
You'll have that on those big jobs.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think those cars kind of got a bad rap. I think they were a lot of fun for what they were. And people got to remember, dude, that car was like 18 grand new.
Yeah, it was a deal. But when you go back to the WRX interior, it with the Momo, the wheel and the shift knob, and everyone wanted that.
Yeah. No, the WRX interior was nice. Like really nice. If you hop into a WRX, especially when it was brand new, it had a particular smell to it. You had this big Momo logo looking at you. Like everything felt, especially considering, you got to understand, we were coming out of the 90s, which interiors were kind of meh in the 90s. It felt way more premium than you would believe. A lot of people who got into Subarus more recently don't really understand how premium that actually felt.
And also a trick for anyone that has a GD with the clock above the vents, you can turn that into a Valentine 1 concealed display. If you ever want to do that, let me know.
All right.
So when you turn it off, it looks stock.
Don't go too deep into it. But one thing I am gonna say is, this is an audio podcast. Okay, we're gonna do our best to describe a lot of this stuff, but we record this on Discord, and there are going to be a lot of pictures in Discord today. If you want to be a part of this and listen live, we record this live in front of a chat, which makes this a ton of fun. If you want to be a part of this, we record every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, and it's open to anybody who wants to come in. So you can be a part of the chat, add pictures, talk about it, and we're going to be asking the chat a bunch of questions. But the first thing I'm going to ask the chat, just so we're all there, because I'm interested to know, I want your top 3 daily driver Subaru interiors. Okay? Everybody give me a top 3, and we'll go from there. Okay? Did you make a list, Randy?
Yes and no. I kind of have a few that are tied.
Okay.
I mean, do you want to go ahead with yours?
Yeah, I'll do mine. I'll go first, then you can go.
Sounds good.
I'm going to start with my third. Okay. Okay. My third is a 2005, 2006 time frame. I'm trying to remember the first year they had the Alcantara inserts in it, but the Legacy Spec B.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, man, that interior was so far ahead of the game. That car is significantly nicer than people give it credit for. And honestly, even today, the basic Legacy, like the Legacy GT, is solid. But man, the Spec B, it had, the Alcantara inserts on the sides and the center. The picture you just posted is actually the one before the Alcantara. That was with the red inserts. The later ones with blue inserts. I think they had them black or blue. The ones with the blue looked really good. Seats were way comfortable. Came with a 6-speed. There it is. So, and it still looks good today. Like, that's a pretty modern looking interior, even by today's standards.
I like that the color isn't too much. It's very subtle.
It's subtle. The red was a little jarring, but man, the blue just worked.
Yeah, the blue works better than the red.
It was dark. It had a really, really good look. Man, I tell you what, that interior still to this day looks great. And like all the touch surfaces were nice. You know what I mean? You had like leather wrap pieces on the doors, and the steering wheel wasn't freakishly huge, and you know the dials had very premium feeling, like tactile bumps to it. You know, when you turned it, it felt premium. Like honestly, that car felt more premium than the generation that came after it, and honestly, the generation that came after it again. It feels more premium than a lot of what Subaru builds today. Still, that car just felt great.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't try to kind of copy that look for other cars. It was very unique to the Legacy.
Yep. Yeah, it was
What's your
super
next
unique
one?
to Legacy. All right, next one. This might be a bit of a hot take, and some of this is a little bit of nostalgia, but I will still sit in one of these, and it'll take me right back, man. It'll take me right back, and it's a Bug-Eye. It's got to be an 02 or 03. It's got to be those basic square ass seats because they are so damn comfy. And if the steering wheel is taken care of or newish, I remember what those steering wheel like new, because I am old.
Yeah.
I am telling you, man. The still to this day, that interior feels more premium than a lot of what's out there. It definitely felt more premium than the GR interior that came after it. And I preferred the earlier GD interior because I really like that cubby hole in front of the stick. Like I didn't it the plastic, that silver like waterfall-y looking plastic that came down. Yeah, just like the picture you posted, that's the later GD chassis interior. That like waterfall center section, that silver stuff would get scratched up. The black stuff didn't do that.
I was going to say the silver. I don't know what they were thinking, putting silver anywhere in the center like that. It just doesn't go with anything, in my opinion.
If you hung up a Bug-Eye interior, they were kind of basic, but I'm telling you, it was just right. I was a fan of the green glow. Like I like the green backlit gauges and the green backlit dials and stuff. I really kind of dug the green stuff, and the seats. Still to this day, I've never sat in a car, an OEM vehicle, that I just sat in and went, holy shit, I fit in this so well. I take that back. I've sat in one other car that fit me that well, and it was a Porsche. Like that's literally like the level I've had to go to get that same sort of like weird hug that a Bug-Eye still to this day will give me. Now, I will pick a Bug-Eye every single time over an STI though. Every time. Because an STI, the seats are shit. Okay? You sit really high in them. They have no bolstering. You can't wear a helmet if you're tall. Like again, I'm shaped like a Geico gecko. All right. I'm also 4 and it's all torso. So like I am extraordinarily tall in the torso. I can't sit in a GD STI with a helmet on and not hit my head on the ceiling. And it sucks. Not only that, honestly, the seats aren't very comfortable. In a Bug-Eye, you can put the seats really low. I could, and I have driven absurd distances in single stints in a Bug-Eye and not even thought about it. I used to drive back and forth from North Carolina all the time to Michigan to North Carolina, nonstop.
Well, I know the Bug-Eye had really popular seats because everyone on RS25 wanted them for their coupes.
The problem is if you stuck them in a GC, though, they sat too high.
Yeah, and then they were modifying the rails and all kinds of stuff.
One of my favorite things to do, and I saw it a few times, was take GC seats and stick them in a Bug-Eye. That was great for me. It was not great for my wife. She couldn't see over the dashboard. So, yeah, Bug-Eye interior. Super simple. Also, really basic double DIN radio. So if you ever wanted to change it out, it was easy. And honestly, the stock radio for its time wasn't awful. I'm a big fan. Yeah.
And the next one?
All right, last one. Last one for my top 3 for daily driver interiors, okay? And there's just I can't deny this because it is so good. And that's a VA STI. It's so good. It's like they took all of the good parts of all of the other interiors and put it into that. The only thing it's missing is the Bug-Eye's absolutely perfect cup holder.
Yeah. They made such a huge difference in the VA interior. It was like it didn't even feel like a WRX. It was so much better than the previous generation.
Oh, totally agree. Yeah, it's such a massive jump going from the GR to the VA STI, and honestly, it's a decent jump even going from the VA WRX to the VA STI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny you mention all yours because mine are pretty much the same. VA is number one, GD like number two. You know, it's the 15 plus just VA was just so much better, and everything was where you wanted it to be. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have a screen that's a foot tall.
It's got kind of this weird mix between analog and digital stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I actually drove my mom's. My mom has a brand new Crosstrek, and I drove it for like 2 hours the other day, and it just literally the screen is almost a foot tall, and then the center vents are vertical, whereas the outside vents are horizontal. I don't need a screen that's a foot tall. Like it's just ridiculous. Just give me a simple double din, and with waves on it, that's all you need, and then the rest can just kind of go it's like it's weird because some of these cars you get into them and you can tell they try to match the interior with the exterior. Unfortunately, and just a heads up, my views and opinions expressed on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the view of my positions or positions of IAG, but the GR interior is the worst interior, one of the worst I've ever seen in any car. I'm sorry.
The GR WRX and STI.
Yes.
Okay, so here now we need to go into maybe having a quick conversation about worst daily driver interiors and why. Okay. And I gotta be real, I don't have these in any sort of particular order, but I am gonna I'm gonna pop out a couple that really stick out to me. Okay. Okay. First one is I really am not a fan of the GC Gen 1 interiors for any sort of daily driving. They lack their cup holder does not work. It just pops out and then shit falls all over the place. There's no real storage. It kind of feels cheap in a lot of places. It I don't know. It's very 90s. The later
I feel like you might as well get the car at that point. I mean,
you really should. Okay, so then the later GC interior wasn't that much better. And it got real rattly. I didn't like the way a lot of stuff fit. So, man, I really am not a fan of GC interior. I got to be real. I'm just not. The one thing I did like about the later GCs was you could get where the airbag was on the passenger side, you could get a cubby for that.
Yeah.
I love that. But the two that really stick out to me, and I actually own one for a daily interior. Okay. The first one, the GR interior is horrific. Why? Man, everything that made a GD seem kind of premium, like the touch surfaces had like a little squish to them and everything. You would touch things and it'd feel like it felt like it was punching above its weight as far as what you were getting for your money. The polar
it just feels like an ugly alien spaceship to me inside. I don't know how else to describe it.
It was the polar opposite with a GR. All of the touch surfaces were rock hard plastic. You had these giant, super easy to scratch door cards that had these huge swaths of just black. And what little pieces of like padding or whatever they put on it, it kind of looked like it was glued to it. You know what I mean? Like it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
What it felt like was a giant cost cutting attempt, and it came across as cheap. I mean, not only that, like the car due to it had a lot more NVH than it should. Like it shouldn't have had that amount of NVH for what it was because they had a shitload of sound deadening in it. Like the car was fairly heavy. You know, there's really not much difference mechanically between a GR and a VA. Now, I I wasn't a fan of the gauge cluster, but I wasn't like angry at it. It had cup holders that functioned, but other than that, like, man, yeah, that interior that irked me. The other thing is the seats were just fucking trash. Like, GR seats are designed for like 300-pound plus people. Like, there is no bolstering in them whatsoever. If you thought the GDSTI had no bolstering, oh my god, you don't even know. It's bad.
Is there anyone that's done a dash swap in a GR?
I don't think so, because nothing else is really gonna fit into it. But I gotta be real. Like, okay, well, let me do my next one. And the next one that comes up, and I own this, and this is first gen BRZ. And it isn't that it's that bad. The touch surfaces and stuff are better. It's laid out decent. There is one massive issue with it. It has the absolute most useless cup holder ever. They put it in the center console. It's a separate piece of shit hunk of plastic, and it just flops out.
Is it like right near your arm?
It not only is it right near your arm, it's because it's a separate piece. If you put anything with any sort of weight into it and you go around a corner, it just comes out.
Oh.
It's really bad. It's really, really bad. You can kind of tell that I can forgive it for being a little bit cheaper, okay? Because that was the concept of the car, and it's simple. And I don't mind that. I have absolutely no qualms with that. Man, they could have did anything with that cup holder. Just anything. Other than that, the cup holder is so bad it knocks it out. The seats, super comfortable. Honestly, I dig the steering wheel. It's simple with no buttons or anything on it. It's great. Notice I didn't bring up the new BRZ. So I have the reason the new BRZ didn't land in the top 3 was one reason and one reason only. Its steering wheel feels fucking awful. It is the worst feeling steering wheel Subaru has ever put in a car. It's awful. It's really thin, and it's got this really goofy angle to it, and you never feel comfortable holding on to it. And on top of that, it's got a bunch of functionality buttons on there that make it really hard for you to even be able to get rid of the damn thing. Like, if you don't like the steering wheel in the first gen, just get an aftermarket steering wheel. It's not a big deal. You don't like the one in the second gen, which you probably don't, fuck you. Oh man, everything else about the interior is pretty solid. I actually really like it. I'm not a huge fan of fully digital dash like gauges and stuff, but they do a really good job on this. And so I'm not like mad about it.
I wonder if the steering wheel is that way because of Toyota. Because it's not used in any other Subaru.
It's so bad. I just hate the second gen steering wheel.
I mean, they could have put anything, like even the Crosstrek or the steering wheel in there, and it would have been better, I think.
Arthur in the chat is saying the steering wheel is pretty nice, though. They used it in the first gen as well. No, they didn't. Yes, they had steering wheels in the first gen with buttons on it, so the centerpiece. But the rim of that steering wheel is different, and it feels like shit. Now, I'm telling you, it's not the same thing as the 2017 Plus steering wheel. I've driven 2017 Pluses. They feel like early, like 2013 steering wheels with buttons on them. It's bad. It's just flat bad, and they should be slapped for it. I'm not okay with it at all. So yeah, I don't know what lands on your worst, Randy.
I don't know. I have so much hatred for the GR.
Yeah, it takes
probably the GR.
Heart. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the Tribecas, I don't know. The Tribeca is really bad too. I put that in the chat earlier.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Tribeca interior. I feel like the interior takes up way more space than it should.
Yeah, it makes it feel just like a big minivan inside, I guess is the way to describe it. I don't know.
I don't feel that at all. I feel like it's taking up insane amounts of room, and a vehicle that big should have more room, and it doesn't.
Another one that's got the worst interior that I'll put in chat right now is the wood trim in the SVX.
Ooh, that's a bad one. That
And
does
it's got
look
like,
bad.
and it's got kind of like a suede sort of on the passenger side and underneath.
Yeah.
What was the thought on that? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know why you would put wood trim in something like an SVX. That's not a look. That's not a good look. Like a normal black SVX, not too bad. Okay, I'm not freaking out about that. But man, that wood trim, that's not good.
Yeah, I'm glad a lot of the wood trim is pretty much gone from any kind of styling. For the most part.
You don't see the woody much anymore.
But I did find some other ones I wanted to see if you could guess. This one you'll probably guess pretty quickly what this one is.
Hold on, let me pull that up. You're pulling up some weird shit. Is that like one of those sandbar van things?
Yeah.
Okay,
the
so
doors
this is
I
a car right-hand drive little thing. And the shifter is on the dash, so you could kind of tell that it was definitely Japanese. I don't know what year that would be from. Okay.
I've never seen the shifter. It's not even on the column. It's in the dash.
It's in the dash. Honda did that for a little while with like the EP3.
Yeah.
Oh man, what do we got here? Is that like the that's another little K car thing. It's gotta be, but it was like the B something, whatever.
Justy.
It was a Justy. So did they call it a Justy? It was like a really late model Justy that we never got here.
Exactly.
What did the Justy look like? Do you got an interior from a Justy here?
I do.
Yeah, show that. Show that. Yeah. I hope you got the XT9 too, because we're going to talk about weird interior. It's that. See, Justies are simple. That's really late 80s, early 90s as it gets, thin rim steering wheel, shifter mounted to the floor, but I've got a soft spot for Justies. I'm not mad about that. It's more because I know what it is. I don't care as much. You know what I mean?
It's very close to the 80s, to the like mid 80s Civics.
Yeah.
Very close interior. And the wheel even looks very similar too.
Yep, kind of looks like an EF Civic. So, do you got a what is an XT9 or whatever, Subaru XT Turbo?
I do not. I did not get that one.
Oh man, that's got the craziest interior ever. You got to look one of those up. Somebody in the chat, go look up a Subaru XT6 or an XT Turbo. XT6. Go look it up. Go get us a picture of that interior. Whatever you just posted, that is a legacy of some sort, or that's a Baja.
That's actually a Baja. Yep.
Because of the color, it's a Baja. So, what do we that interior that just got pulled up? I'm assuming is one of those little Beetle looking things.
I couldn't find any pictures of the Subaru 1500 anywhere, just exterior.
Yeah. 360. Yep. Okay. Yep. Subaru 360. Yeah, that looks like the original interior for the Impreza for like the prototype.
The one I posted?
Yeah.
I believe it should be from a 93 Impreza wagon.
Yeah, so really, really early. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, one thing I like about those original Imprezas, though, I'm going to throw this out there. I like the accordion shift boot. Big fan of that.
I kept mine. I wanted to try and reuse it, but I think I don't know where it's at. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the accordion.
Look at that XT. Look at it. It's got the pistol grip shifter. It's got the 2-spoke wheel, but like one spoke goes to the bottom, one spoke goes to like 3 o'clock. Like it is the most odd interior ever. Dude, it is so 80s.
Wow.
Like if you look at that interior looks like, you ever seen the movie Short Circuit?
Yes.
That looks like frickin' Johnny Five invented that interior. XT6s and XT turbos were crazy, man. Yeah, and then they had the digital dash too. Oh my god, that is so 80s, and it's got that like weird red and orange hue to it. Yep. Love it. So in love with it. It's so good. Holy shit, what is that, Randy? Is that a recent thing?
That is a brand new Solterra. And to be fair, it is all Toyota.
That is 100% a Toyota product that Toyota didn't care about.
It's so weird. When I don't know if you've sat in one with the display is so far back into the dash. It's so weird.
It really sounds like Subaru made it. It was one of those things that they threw into their line as like, we're gonna use this to help our EPA numbers, but we hate this car. It sounds like from the vibe I got from what Toyota, like the reviews of the car and what Toyota like kind of said about it and what Subaru said about it, and the fact that they just don't push it and now they're trying to sell it for basically pennies. Like, they don't care about that car. Like, and it's not very good.
It's definitely like older Prius interior design, because I feel like there was an older Prius that had the display where it was all the way pushed back towards the windshield. I can't remember which Prius it is though, but yeah, it's really weird.
So there's a few different things about interior. Okay. I want to chat about, now let's talk about this from more of a practical standpoint. Okay. Daily driving an interior is one thing. Every time you get in the car, you're going to touch certain things, you're going to feel certain things. You're going to want a car, as a daily to feel a certain way. And it might not fall under so much practicality. It's just it's just how you feel within the interior, how you sit in it. And we're talking keeping stock seats and stuff like that. But when you talk about a track car and you start ripping stuff out, the equation changes. Okay. So now I want to talk about, if you start to turn a car into a track car, maybe what interior makes that transition a little better. Okay. From an interior standpoint. And these are again, my point of view. Not necessarily, others may have a different point of view. And in the end, if you gut everything and make a bunch of custom stuff, nothing I'm about to say means shit. Okay. For the most part. But my first track oriented interior that I think is really good just for, doing basic stuff, going to the track. Definitely more of a performance. You don't care about cup holders, you don't care about the radio, you don't care about any of that shit. It's completely functioning interior. I'm gonna say is the first gen BRZ. Not only are the stock seats pretty damn good, okay, but when you remove the seats, you then put in racing seats. There's plenty of room to put in just about any racing seat you want. The interior is very simple. Okay, you don't have to worry about removing a bunch of crap off of your steering wheel and losing functionality. So when you want to replace your steering wheel, not a big deal. You want to put a cage in it, not a big deal. You ripping the interior apart isn't a big deal, because honestly, the BRZ is like the closest thing to a 90s interior you can get a hold of. Now, from a simplicity standpoint, GCs are probably as good as they're going to get, with GDs following right behind it. But if you're trying to fully upgrade into something, I'm gonna say the first gen BRZ is a really, really solid answer.
I think I heard from someone that the BRZ dash was designed to have a cage put in easily. I don't know if I heard incorrectly.
I don't doubt it, but I can tell you it is. Okay, like I can, whether they designed it that way or not, I can tell you it is set up like almost like there was some thought put into that. Okay,
it was specifically for the A-pillar bars, I thought, is what I heard.
The car is actually pretty easy to like pull apart too. Like it's not they didn't add ass tons of sound deadening to it. It's not overly complex. Again, it's very much like a 90s car. The newer BRZs are significantly nicer, but with that comes more sound deadening, a little more complex interior. The seats are a little more comfortable from the factory, but they also there's more to it. And there's stuff on the steering wheel it's a little harder to get rid of. Things like that. You can pretty much completely gut a BRZ and it'll still function 100%.
Yeah, and I like how these aftermarket companies are doing completely different steering wheels for the BRZ too now, I saw.
Yes.
That connects to everything electronically, plug and play, I believe.
Yep.
That's really nice.
They've got that going on too. The new BRZs, the aftermarket's taken over, but the old BRZs, you don't really need special aftermarket for. It's just whatever the fuck you got laying around. And it really, there's an advantage to that, My second pick for this is kind of a hot take, and I don't know if you're going to like this or not, but it's just the honest to God truth. No matter what size you are, you're going to fit in this thing, and you sit so perfect in it, and that's a GR. Okay, a GR interior sucks as a daily, but from a track oriented standpoint, fitting crazy seats in it, fitting in it with a helmet, even if you were to put a cage in it, making sure you have room around you, stuff like that, you're going to have a very hard time doing better than a GR. The interior itself actually is set up really good. Yeah, there's a couple buttons on the steering wheel on most of them, but it's not it's mostly radio functionality and shit and cruise control. It's nothing serious. You can get rid of that stuff. It's not a big deal. The GR, because of its ridiculous simplicity and use of extraordinarily hard plastics everywhere, means if you need to drill into if you need to mount something to the dashboard, okay, you can literally just drill into the dashboard and mount something. You can't do that with these other dashboards because they all have like soft touch surfaces. With a GR, it doesn't matter. It's all hard plastic. So there's advantages to that. If you want to flock the dashboard, it's actually a little bit easier because shit sticks to it really well. It's really easy to rough up the surface, get your adhesive laid down. GRs are really good for that. Okay. They just, honestly, they make decent track cars. I think just as a platform, the further I go into things, the more and more I appreciate a GR for what it is. Here's a real hot take that I don't think a lot of people are going to want to hear. The GR, I think, is actually a better platform for track use than a VA.
I can see that.
And the reason for that is it cools better. Okay. There's lots of room to add, oil coolers and stuff in the front. You can add the 2015 STI rack without hardly any modification. And that was the big advantage that most people feel in a VA. And the chassis is almost as stiff, but the rest of it is so much simpler that honestly, it's kind of the right answer for somebody who needs like a larger vehicle or maybe a newer vehicle or whatever. And then my top pick is going to be a GD. Mostly because there's this giant aftermarket on how to, for building cages and whatever. Like it's all out there. It's really our Fox body. Okay. There's a GD chassis has been modified in a billion different ways. That chassis from the ground up is really stiff. It's got plenty of room for just about anybody to stick their ass in it, have plenty of clearance for their helmet and everything else. The dashboard is pretty simple depending on your rules. You may not be able to completely remove your dashboard or not. You can actually get a decent amount of weight out of the car if you remove some of the stuff in the rear, things like that. There's not an abundance of sound deadening to get out, but again, it's kind of this weird cross between thought out. It's kind of this weird cross between like a 2010s interior and like a 90s interior, which I know shit, it's from the 2000s, but
yeah,
it isn't so modern that it has a ton of extra shit, but it's modern enough to where it was built kind of modular, and it works out pretty well. The other thing that's nice about it is very easy to put a cage in. The way the dashboard beam works and everything, it's not hard to replace a bunch of that stuff with what you're building a cage with, and have yourself a really nice setup and mount your dashboard where it's supposed to be and everything else. It's actually like it's a kind of a perfect interior for that sort of stuff. And like I said, almost everything fits into it. The one downside I have ran into it, if you're taller and you need to sit a little further back, if you don't have the seat low enough, because it is a 4-door, it may make contact with the B pillar. Your aftermarket seat, like the shoulder area, might get real close to that B pillar. I have had it like rub and things like that. And so there is some fitment issues as far as that goes, but everything else way outweighs that. So
have you seen any VBs caged yet?
No, I haven't. Um, I really want to see somebody go super hard with a VB outside of
Yeah.
really the only people doing it are Vermont Sports Car, and that car's so far removed from what an actual VB is. It's hard to
Mhm.
really call that the same thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you with the similar models. I mean, I'd probably say like BRZ, GD. I still just hate the GR so much. But then
Mhm.
again, I don't have any personal experience with modifying a GR. I'm just going by pure looks. But it's to me, I just like having the whole top dash and then maybe a area with switches. But now you can also just do that with the center area anyway. You can mock up your own kind of panel for that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, all those I think are what you mentioned are good reasons for the GR.
So one thing I want to bring up is the VB just fell out of my top 3 interiors. Um, I was very surprised how nice our VB felt. Yeah, I got to drive our VB a bit. Um, the big giant screen in the middle worries me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. After that gets dated, or if it goes out, that's gonna be a bitch to replace. But honestly, the rest of that car felt really good. It kind of took a lot of. That's the reason it didn't get in the in my top 3 was that giant center screen. I would constantly be worried about it going out, but it's got that big cubby hole, and that's a huge thing. The seats they kind of remind me of a bug eye. They're comfy, they're simple, but they're super comfy. There's a lot of space in the car. Even it's huge, so there should be a lot of space, but they use it pretty well. It isn't like a Tribeca where it's this giant vehicle and no room whatsoever. Um, the touch surfaces are decent. It's like they kind of stepped up it really falls in between a VAWX and a VASTI as far as what the stuff looks like on the inside.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? The VAWX felt a little on the cheaper side. But the VB feels really good. It's, and some of it's a little newer, and some of those new features are nice, especially when you're used to older, shittier cars. But that big screen's got me worried, man. You know what I'm saying? Past that, I don't hate it. If for a daily, I sure as fuck would not want that for a track car.
Yeah, I think really like you said, it's just the screen. I don't understand what they but then again, it's they've got a certain
That's the
demographic they're
market
going
right
for.
That's the market right now and you got to think about it. They put this giant screen in, it's got all this functionality. I prefer to have buttons and stuff for, turning stuff on, but if they deleted all the physical dials and everything else, and they just do it with a giant screen, it probably saved them some money. Okay. But with that stated, that's another thing. It's really nice if I'm like, man, I want to turn the fan on. You just reach down and turn a knob. You know what I mean? Um, you got to go poking buttons and shit and this and that screen. If it wasn't for that screen, it would be it would be right near the top.
Mhm.
I don't like the fact that I have to use the screen for everything.
It's just crazy that steering wheel. Now that you're back there, complaining about the BRZ steering wheel. If they just put the even the Crosstrek steering wheel on the BRZ, I mean,
Oh, I'd be,
just
dude.
it's huge
You would not hear
difference.
a single thing of me bitching. It is, and it's due to the shape of it. Okay, not like the outer ring shape, but literally like the grabbing shape of it. It almost feels like it's round until you get to like. I'm trying to. If you were to have a cross section of it, okay, and you're looking at it round, okay, it's like it gets to 3 o'clock and then skips to like 7 o'clock and then goes back to being round. Like
Yeah.
it's like flat on the back side of the wheel, and it feels like shit in the hands. And I don't know like who said this is what's up. Like I have no idea, but it feels really dainty and it just I don't know. It does not it's the least confidence inspiring steering wheel I've ever felt in a Subaru. Like, I just hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I would like to know more information about it, but I would have to guess it has to be something with Toyota and being involved.
It'd have to be, dude.
Yeah,
it'd have to be. Because it'd be cheaper for them to use anything else. Like, this is a 100% bespoke steering wheel. Toyota must have been like, we think girls are gonna drive this, and they have thin fingers. Like, what? Yep.
But I don't know. It's just something still about the newer generations with those vents. I don't understand why the center vents are vertical. It drives me nuts. I know the screen is taking a lot of real estate, but having the side vents being horizontal and then the center vents being vertical, and then you look at like.
Are you one of those people who gets into a car and you got to make sure you straighten the vents out?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can't fix that, and you'll never be able to, and you're probably just angry all the time.
I put an image of the RS3 interior and all the that is like one of my new favorite interiors because it's modern, simplistic. It matches kind of what the outside design of the car is, and I just wish Subaru would kind of just tweak it a little bit, and it'd be pretty good.
That's kind of cool. That almost feels like a weird mashup of like a Subaru XT 80s interior and like a more modern interior. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, maybe that's why I like it so much, but
I don't know. I kind of miss some of the rounder stuff. I miss rounder shapes in cars in general. I think everything's looking very Decepticon these days. And I wish we'd get to more of the organic shapes again. I kind of miss that stuff. I wish we would get back to it, but I don't think we're ever going to get back to it.
I do like how the interior of the BRZ kind of makes you feel like you're I don't know how to describe it. I guess lower into the car.
Yeah, because you are.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like you just look to your left and like the door card is just so much higher up.
Yeah, when you drive around in a BRZ, you feel kind of cool.
And I feel like now I think other manufacturers are kind of taking note. I've noticed that in some 4-door cars now that you kind of get the same feeling. Which is really nice.
Well, you feel cool because you're sitting in the car, not on the car.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's one of the reasons that I was always a big fan of a bug eye, because you feel like you sit in it. Then you go to an 04 STI and you sit on it. Okay, and it's one thing that I can say about the GR, even though the seats are god awful and the stock interior is awful for daily driving and whatever, but you feel like you sit fairly low in it. And it feels kind of cool. BRZ, they nailed that. You feel kind of cool driving it. And then you look out the rear view mirrors and you see the humps over the rear wheels, and it feels cool to drive. You know what I mean? I don't have another way of putting it. It doesn't feel like an Econo shitbox. It feels kind of cool. So, yeah. What do you got there? Is that a Forester?
Or is that just a GR?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I don't know. The GR interior is just so ugly. I just can't do anything with it.
They did a lot of design language like that, and the Tribeca borrowed a bunch from that, and where everything kind of swoops from the sides into the center. And there was this big, huge bulge in the center where you had your double din radio or whatever. That was kind of Subaru's design language at that point, but I gotta be real. It wasn't. I think if they would have used better materials, I think it would have been better. The thing that really bugs me, and maybe I'm just oversensitive to this, is like touch surfaces. And I gotta be real. You hop in any GR right now, hop in any 08, 09 STI is the perfect example. The interior, all of it is scratched and chipped to shit. The paint's falling off all this hard plastic all over the place. It did not age well at all. Ooh, what do we got there? That looks like a S209 interior or something.
Oh yeah, the black center
Yeah.
is way better looking than the silver.
STI. Okay, nope, that's a okay. So the Foresters always were kind of like tall STIs. That is an SG Forester STI. Yeah, Foresters were always tall Imprezas. Okay, so they borrow a lot from that. That looks nice. I did always like the JDM version 7, version 8, and version 9 seats. The problem is the seats felt great inside of a GD chassis, made our US domestic market seats just seem awful. But the one that actually had the height adjustment was always on the wrong side for us. And to make that work, it took a pretty serious amount of work. And it just wasn't, oh my God. It was awful trying to make that work. So if you had the normal passenger seat for the Japanese cars in your driver's seat and you sat on it, you sat crazy high again, which for short people was great. For me, it was awful. It ended up being worse than the US domestic market seats.
I actually have a friend that was so obsessed with the blue STI seats, he put them in his S2000.
My guy.
If you ever see a yellow S2000 in Cincinnati with blue STI seats, just say, "Hey, Aaron." But he loves those seats so much. So there are people that go to the extreme. Doesn't matter what kind of car they have, they will get the interior the way they want it.
They are really good, like really good. They're arguably better than GC seats, which are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really good. S203 seats are killer. Yeah, you're gonna get some of those S series seats were really amazing too. I don't fit into a bunch of them. Great. It isn't that I'm too wide; it's I'm too tall. So where the curves are in the seat, they suck.
I will say Subaru is doing a fantastic job on the new seats for
they
Recaro,
absolutely are.
But I've never sat in them. But so I mean, at least they're doing one.
Go sit in a GR seat, and you're gonna see where Subaru fucked up. Evo seats, especially like the Evo 8 and 9 seats. There are a bunch of STI guys who then modified those in because those were just a Recaro. They were a basic Recaro. Those are super comfy too. I gotta be real though. I think the Japanese domestic market STI seats actually feel better than the Evos. Those Evo seats are nice. Now, what I will say is there were seats that we got at the US domestic market GR-STI seats are terrible. But there were optional seats for the GR-STI that we did not get here in the States. And they are significantly better. I have sat in a set of those. We got robbed. We got completely robbed.
Yeah, there's a lot of people posting pictures of their favorite seats. It's really cool to see. There's so many variations of seats. I mean, that's another thing why I love the Subaru scene is, you can, mix and match drivetrains, but even doing like OEM interior in another car, it still makes it kind of like OE plus without being too ricey, too flashy.
We're going to be doing some interesting stuff on my 05 STI. We just bought an entire new interior for it. I don't know if I told you about that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, the whole thing. I never thought I'd buy Brid seats, but this guy had a killer deal on an entire Brid interior. He had the Brid Euroster left and right seats with all the brackets and everything. All the door cards with the Brid done instead of blue. Okay. And then the rear seats all done with the Brid gradation pattern. The whole and the center console. It looks sick. And I've already paid them for it. Like, I just got to go get them. They're sitting in North Carolina. I'm super stoked about it. I just haven't had a chance to go get them. That's what's going in our 05 STI. And I honestly, I couldn't be more stoked. I need to find some black carpet now, so we get rid of the blue carpet, and then all of the blue's gone.
Now, is it true that aftermarket carpet just doesn't fit as well as OE carpet?
Sucks. I need to find some WRX carpet. So I'm on the hunt for some new and package 02 to 07 WRX carpet. So I'm hunting.
Nice. That'll be really cool. You have to post pictures of that when you get that all
that
set up
car's
too.
gonna look so good when we're done. I am so excited. It's gonna be a really fun project. Me and my wife are gonna be working on over the summer.
Are you gonna be doing sound ending or leaving that out?
We're gonna keep. I'm not gonna go out of my way to chop it out. It just ain't worth it.
No, I mean add to it.
I'm not gonna add any sound deadening.
Okay.
No, I mean I want the car to still have some of its raw, feeling, but the carpet it has like the insulation on the bottom. If you get the OEM carpet, I'm gonna leave it in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have some really, really mint condition black STI floor mats that I'm gonna keep in there. Like I want to put this car back together the right way. And I want it to be a really good example of an 05 STI done correctly. So I'm stoked about that. I think it's gonna look great.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yep, that should be a really good one. Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else we need to cover here. What have you been up to? You're coming out next week to IAG to get your car, right?
Yeah. Me and Kent are leaving Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
And so we'll be in the office Thursday, and then we're leaving Saturday morning. So I'm hoping the weather ends up being okay driving the car back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I should actually be in the office at the same time, so we'll be able to see each other.
Cool. So have you I'm also going to piggyback off Arthur's question in chat. So can you give us any hints on what you're doing with sequential for Boogey or
okay.
No?
So long story short, we can put a sequential in now. The way Subaru sequentials for the most part work is you put them inside of an OEM housing, and like we're now legal to do that. A lot of that came from my argument with them, because the way it was worded said you could put a gear set inside of an OEM housing. Well, technically that's what the sequential was a gear set. Okay. Yep. So it said aftermarket sequential gearbox was not allowed, but it doesn't say gear set. So like any wording past that was talking about an aftermarket sequential gearbox then got thrown out, because this is a gear set, not a gearbox. And that's, if you guys are ever going to get into racing seriously, this is how you have to read rule books. Okay. So long story short, after much debate, which took them a lot longer than I really hoped, because that conversation started in September, and a couple weeks into January, they finally went, okay, it's 100% legal. Yes, you can do that. So we figured out the company we want to work with. We got kind of a thing worked out, but I need to invent funding for it. Like, again, I think a lot of people think that like Boogey is just like, either IAG or sponsors or whatever, just throw huge amounts of money at this and we can do whatever we want. Operating costs of Boogey is very high. Okay. So we have pretty much just functioning as we were in making the small changes that need to be changed to repair things from last year or whatever. That takes up our entire budget. Okay. So,
I feel like this would be a good topic for a podcast in itself.
Absolutely will. But I'm just, let me ramble. So either way, I'm looking to I need to secure funding. That's what I'm looking for right now. So we're not far off. We're going to get it figured out, but the plan is to have a sequential before Road Atlanta, and with some form of testing before Road Atlanta, so we at least know this thing works. So when we go to that event, we're not going in completely blind, but I tell you what, I am fucking terrified of Road Atlanta. That car is scary, or that track is scary, and it is really scary in this car. But that's only like one part of this. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw, but Dylan's been working on we got a Volvo power steering pump and a controller for it. He's been working on that. We need a new steering rack. We kind of need a new front. We want to do a tubular subframe in the front. That kind of has to happen at this point. and we've got some small aero bits that we want to mess around with, and we have a different color intake manifold. I think we're gonna do a vote on Instagram about that, but we got a blue or a purple one. And I think we're gonna go with a purple one, but if we get enough votes going the other way, we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of what's up. So yeah, and we haven't even scratched the surface of the the electronic blow off valve / boost gate or the electronic waste gate. That's all stuff we're gonna be doing too. We got a whole lot of shit to do in a very short period of time. And Dylan is going, fuck the whole time. But it is what it is.
So for me, I'm not really familiar with the aspects of the sequential relating to all the other parts of the car, but how much don't the tuning alone, it doesn't have to completely change.
The tuning's going to change up a bit. Long story short, there's going to be like a strain gauge. Okay. So it's going to know when I'm pulling or pushing on the lever. Okay. It knows if I'm going up or down in gear. So then, thankfully Graham's done a bunch of sequential tuning, and the M-Tron is highly capable of this. And it's already got logic in there for a lot of this, so it's kind of more just turn the logic on for the most part and then tweak it as needed.
Oh,
but
nice.
When once I start off and get the car moving, I should, and unless I'm going at lower speeds, but if we're talking track speed and going at a clip, I shouldn't ever have to look at my clutch.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna mean I just yank it for going up, and when I push it, it'll auto blip. And it'll lock me out of gears. At least that's the hope. It'll try not to let me grab the gear if at all possible.
Yeah.
Because it won't. I gotta have a conversation about that. If I were to, because it isn't going to be the rules state I have to have the shifting mechanism needs to be in the same general location as the original shifter was. Okay. AKA I can't put paddles in it. Okay.
That's fine.
Now with paddle shifting, well, there's an advantage to paddle shifting in certain ways. When you're going down a gear, I'm literally having this epiphany right now. When you're going down a gear, the ECU basically says, okay, they requested a gear. Yes, we can do that. Okay, hit the solenoid and let them have it. Okay, all that happens in a really short period of time. But if I'm mechanically connected to the trans, I'm the one choosing if I can go down or up a gear. I'm wondering if, even if it tries to stop me, or like it doesn't dip throttle or whatever, is it going to let me put it into a gear lower? When I think we're still going to be okay, because I don't money shift hardly ever. And when I do, it's due to me hitting the wrong gear. Okay. So I think I'll be okay. And it isn't like it's super light. I'm not going to accidentally just bump the stick and it's going to go into the wrong gear. It's not like that shouldn't be an issue. You have to put a decent amount of physical effort to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like going sequential for really anyone also helps mentally on the track, because you can focus more on your braking and other inputs than constantly worrying about gears.
Where this is going to help me more than anything is going to be what I can do with my left foot.
Yeah.
Because now I've taken a pedal out of this. My left foot, because my brain just it doesn't work the same way like Jackie's brain works. He's a perfect example of this, where he has the ability to bounce between 3 pedals with 2 feet. And it just makes sense for him. Like, I'm really good at heel towing, and I can control the brake and the gas with 1 foot really well. But being able to use my left foot to brake and help rotate the car and then go back to the gas really soon, and it's dedicated for braking. My left foot is then dedicated for braking. That's going to change a lot. I'm going to be able to use my left foot to rotate the car so much better than I ever have. There is a lot of times where I wish I had a pedal cam years before, where I would be, mid corner. I'd get the car turned into where I needed to be, but it wasn't quite where I could hit the gas yet. And what that really means is I could have probably broke a little bit later. And if I came off the brakes with a little more control, I probably could have carried a little more speed, but I'll end up in these weird areas where I'm sitting there waiting to hit the gas, so I'm doing nothing with that foot for a while. I think a lot of that will go away.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like you need to start on the sim rig a little bit.
I am. I already left foot brake on the sim rig. I've been living on the sim. You been living on your sim? I know you got your shit sorted out. Let's go do some GR stuff, bro.
A buddy of mine just gave me a shelf so I can get my actual PC off the ground, and so now I'm rewiring it and just cleaning up the wiring, and I need to get back on it though.
You do. Come do some GR Cup, and I've been messing with this. Gridlife's been doing this M2 Cup thing, which has been a lot of fun, and all the crazies come out, DJ and all those dudes. I think I might actually get some coaching from DJ.
DJ's unstoppable on the sim.
Well, he's one of the people that hit me up with a clip, and I was talking about this the other day, and I think I'm gonna have DJ help me out. At a certain point, you have to swallow your pride, and I want to get better more than I want to prove I've got my shit together. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I know if I have somebody else looking, and pointing things out, I'm honestly, who I saw it improve more than I ever thought I would see is Peter Granberg. Peter Granberg got some coaching, and it drastically changed Peter. He has turned into an incredibly good driver, and through one season of coaching. And so I'm hoping, even if I do some sim stuff, if that's something I can do from home, sick. And if I can pick some stuff up, I do need a new set of pedals though. So I'm kind of digging for pedals right now. I haven't quite figured out what I want to get yet.
DJ should be able to tell you what you should get.
We've already been chatting.
Yeah, it's crazy how much now there's an advancement in that stuff with feedback. Now?
I think what I'm going to get is we're kind of shooting off topic here, but I think I'm going to get the Sim Magic pedals with the haptic unit on the brake pedals, so I can feel if ABS is hitting or not. DJ's like, you should be able to feel that through the wheel, but I don't feel ABS in my wheel at all.
No, you got to feel it in the pedal. I mean, I've got an older set of pedals that I've got it in, but I mean the newer ones do it so much better now too. You'll love it.
Yep, that setup ain't too bad. It's like $600 for the pedals, so we're all in. So
yeah, it's not really terrible.
Not that bad, and I think I'm gonna pick up a pretty good amount of time from that.
I don't think people realize how much you can spend in sim racing equipment. It's nuts. Like you could probably spend $3,000 just in pedals if you really wanted to.
Let's answer some of Arthur's questions. Okay, first lap time predictions for RA. I'm gonna assume you mean Road Atlanta because we were just talking about it. And I gotta be real, I don't know, man. Those guys were hauling. I think what did Jackie and the boys run? 27s, 26s, something? Man, I don't remember. I gotta be real. I don't know if I can run that in Boogie. In 25s. Okay, there you go. I want to come into this realistically. Okay, and realistically, I see the car probably running about a second off pace of whatever the hell those guys are running. And honestly, it's a commitment thing. The Supra's really, really good at high speed stuff. I'm gonna go there and do my best, and maybe I'm underestimating how fast the car is compared to what it used to be, but I just have a really hard time wrapping my brain around going as fast as they were going through 12 and 1. And I don't know if I have enough tire and enough aero to pull it off, but I could be wrong. We're looking at making aero changes, and I'm a lot better driver than I used to be, and we actually have brakes that don't suck, and like there's a lot going on since last time I've been there with a car that was kind of falling apart and actually did fall apart. It's been a long time since I've been there with Boogey. That was Boogey version 1.0. So we'll see. We're obviously multiple seconds faster on every other track than we were then. I mean, we were excited about what was it, like 35s on Mid Ohio back in the day, and now we're running like 27s. So if we were to take that same concept and put it towards Road Atlanta, I should be right there. But again, that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. I'm a realist when it comes to that. So his next question was, is sub 130 going to happen at Gingerman this year? I think so, but I don't think it's just going to be us. It's going to be a race to see who can do it first. But I think we're going to be pretty quick at Gingerman. I'm not going to lie. A sequential will definitely help at Gingerman, but I think we're going to see some shit at Gingerman this year. If the weather is decent, the drifters don't completely destroy the track, I think we're going to see some serious shit in Gingerman this year. So,
well, another thing too is Mid Ohio's changed.
Oh yeah, Mid Ohio. Yeah, that's another point. So all the records for Mid Ohio probably don't count anymore. It's been reset to 0 because the China Beach corner has changed. Basically, instead of it being this kind of like higher speed sweeper up into madness, now it is a like a pretty hard braking, almost hard 90 going up into madness. So time is definitely going to get added there, and I don't think it's going to count for records. Well, old records. All records are going to be reset. It's going to be new and old Mid Ohio records. So. And then Arthur still dropping the questions, and I love them. Is Super K and the Hunter, or are they behind now? Look, I'm never gonna count Alex Moss and ASM out. Those guys can find speed all over the place, but man, they had as rougher year than us last year. They had a pretty rough year, and I got to be real. Like, even with more power, they got a lot. They got to get sorted out. I'm never going to count them out. They're always legit. Okay. But you've got 2 ridiculous Supras. You've got us, you've got Mike Omick. You've got Kel, who's adding horsepower. And then you always have these dark horses that show up, like, Ryan Matthews and those guys. Getting in the top 5 is rough. Do I put them consistently in the top 5? Probably. Do I put them on the podium every time? I don't know. Maybe the right track, but I got to be real. I don't think it's there right now. Yeah, it's super rough. Arthur, I always thought it was interesting to see Kel uses EMG, especially when he owns a Supra. Yeah, but I get it. And I think their platform's actually, like, kind of intelligent. There's a pretty beaten path to like 800 wheel with that car. If he shows up with 800 wheel in that thing, you're going to see some shit out of that too. It's just heavy. I think that's the thing that kills it. But man, they can lean on all the GT4 stuff. All of those, that Mercedes AMG GT4 stuff, they can lean on a lot of that development. They can go look at some of those cars and borrow aero concepts and things from it. And they're really open, from what it sounds like, of helping them with what worked for the chassis and what didn't, and kind of pointing them in the right direction. And there's an advantage to using something like that, you know. Now, with that stated, that's one of the reasons that Alan Patton is so fast, is because Thunder Bunny runs essentially a GT4 program with their Supras, and they have a ton of data that they can then turn around and thump into that time attack car. So, I mean, you ain't wrong, but it's so lame. Like, who wants to see a podium of nothing but Supras? Like, come on.
Do you know if they're making any big upgrades this season? Or...
They don't really talk about a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you right now, Kyle's crazy. he'll put a nuclear reactor in that car. He does not give a shit. Okay. Alan's got a lot of irons in the fire, you know, and we only came close to him once the entire season. Now we scared the shit out of him with a car that really shouldn't have been there. But I bet you Alan finds a little more horsepower. Okay. And I bet Kyle shows up with more horsepower. He finds a lot more horsepower. Is that what's going to get it done? I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a crazy season, you know, and we still got a lot we got to figure out with these, not only the sequential, but, all this crazy blow off valve wastegate stuff. Man, we got so much we got to do. We got a lot we got to do. We need to get this thing. We got to get that trans in the car and get it on the dyno as soon as humanly possible. Maybe even on the dyno with some of that shit before the trans gets here, so we can start just understanding it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But is what it is. This is one of the nice things about Graham doing a lot of the same things we are to his own car currently, because he is already learning this stuff on the same ECU.
Yeah, you get a jump start on it.
Yep.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think we're going to call it. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. And hope you guys had a good time with us. And if you do us a favor, share, like, subscribe. Please leave a comment. Wherever you listen to this, leave us a comment. It means a ton. Absolutely means a ton to us. Leave a comment on this. Let's hear what your top 3 or best or worst interiors are, what you hate, what you dislike, whatever. I want to hear it. Okay. If you want to add some time attack conversation into it, do that. Share it with your buddies, do whatever you got to do. We want to, the more you do that, the more you mix it up, the better these are going to get. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks you guys. And we'll see you next week.